Hello students, let's start our next chapter, electromagnetic waves. Until now we have learned that an electric current produces a magnetic field and also a magnetic field changing with time produces an electric field. Here comes a new question that can an electric field changing with time produce a magnetic field? Of course, regarding this particular question, which is nothing but the time varying electric fields, we have already got an introduction in EMI, electromagnetic induction. Do you remember? Actually, Scottish scientist James Clerk Maxwell got this idea, which is nothing but can an electric field changing with time produces a magnetic field. Basing on this question, he argued that there is a need in order to change or in order to modify the Ampere circuit law, which until now we are actually discussing about. Okay, so according to Maxwell, the Ampere circuit law, the actual Ampere circuit law is integral over B bar dot dl bar is equals to mu naught I, isn't it or not? Ampere circuit law this is. But Maxwell stated that this equation has to be modified. This integral over B bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught I. This is inconsistent in some regions where there will be a rate of change of electric field, and where those regions are actually existing and what are these means. Now let's see the development of this. But before that, in alternating current, do you remember the formula for XC? Capacitive reactance XC equal to 1 by C omega, which we wrote it as 1 by C into 2 pi f. Greater the frequency, lesser will be XC. That's it, right? Greater is the frequency, XC will be less. Inverse relation rate, which means you can write it as XC is inversely proportional to f. We have already plotted the graph too. For DC, in the case of DC, f equal to 0. That's it, right? There won't be any frequency, 1 by 0, which means XC tends to infinity. For AC, or you can call it as for AC of high frequencies, XC will be low, while of low frequency XC is greater. That's it, right? Less frequency, more XC. So there is a discrepancy with all the XC in all these values, right? Keep them in mind. Now we are going to discuss later, which means capacitor is acting like a pure resistor where XC equal to infinite in the case of DC, while having a less resistance for greater frequencies and having a greater resistance for smaller frequencies. That's it, right? We have already seen now. So keep them in mind. Now the Maxwell argument now we are going to see about. Okay, so now let's look about that argument. What his argument is, whenever we consider a capacitor, which is whether in the case of charging or discharging, he noticed that, or else whenever the capacitor is connected in a circuit, he noticed that there is a magnetic field between the plates of the capacitor. Of course, the magnetic field between the plates of the capacitor can be identified by using a magnetic needle, compass needle. So the oscillations of the compass needle gives us that. Okay, so for that I am going to draw the circuit. So here is the capacitor, which is connected to a battery, and of course here is the plug key. The moment when you plug in, current starts flowing here. Look here, this is a current carrying conductor. I am going to call that current to be IC. Now let us apply Ampere circuit law here in this region, or for the better understanding, I am going to consider a region. Let's say suppose a C1 region near the capacitor. I am calling it as C1. And the question is, here there is a magnetic field, right? So here also I am going to consider one more region. Remember, these regions are parallel to the surface of these parallel plate capacitors C1 and C2. So the actual structure is, you can imagine like this. So this is a plate and this is another plate of capacitor. So I am speaking about the region here behind the plate and between the plates. just behind and in between. So now for this region C1, let us apply ampere circuit law. Integral over, for the region C1, B bar dot dl bar is equals to its mu naught, and what's the current? We called it as IC. Keep this aside. Now for the second region, integral over C2, no, B bar dot dl bar, I'll write it as 0. Since I is 0, there is no current in this region. That's it, right? There is no current in this region. Hence, can I make it as a 0? Thus, you got two different equations for two different situations. Understand that. Okay, ma? Right. Now, here comes a question. If C1 and C2 are close to each other, if C1 and C2 are nearby, what happens? What happens if they are nearby? Which means magnetic field in that region C1 and as well as in that region C2, which is in these two regions, there won't be much difference. Hence, we can equate these two. That implies integral over C1 B bar dot dl bar, integral over B bar dot dl bar should be equal to integral over C2 B bar dot dl bar for these two, right? This must be. But coming to the practicality, is this equation consistent? Look here, here we got mu naught IC, and while here it is on the right hand side of the equations, here it is 0, while here it is mu naught IC. Is this inconsistent? So Maxwell argued that this ampere circuit law, whatever we are actually considering, is not true where there is accumulation of charge, and in such regions ampere circuit law is not valid. Hence, Maxwell modified the law. Maxwell modified ampere circuit law. So that modification and how he modified, what is the term he introduced, and that's all now we are going to discuss about here in this chapter. So hope you got the rough idea what is the need of studying this. Are we clear with this? So now let's look back to let us understand the need of the correction and what is the correction made by the Maxwell here. Okay, look here now. According to the ampere circuit law, integral over B bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught IC. Of course, IC is conduction current, just current in the conductor, which I am calling it as a conduction current in the wire. When AC is applied across the condenser, there is a flow of electricity. So there must be a magnetic field created between the plates of the condenser. Of course, this is true even in the case of DC also. Of course, even though it is resisting that change, for DC anyway it is acting like a resistor. But while in the case of AC, we can notice this, right? It is behaving like a wire. We have already seen that. High pass filter, low pass filter, we have already discussed in AC circuits. So now that was the discussion here. So Maxwell noticed this variation, and ampere circuit law cannot be applied between the plates, and he stated this. And he suggested, now you can notice here, a new current called displacement current. Are you getting the point here? So that displacement current, whatever he is actually introduced, is nothing but proportional to dE by dt. What do you mean by dE by dt? Rate of change of electric field, a time varying electric field. Have you noticed this here? And that's what, right, we are speaking about, time varying electric fields, magnetic fields and all. So that displacement current, whatever he introduced, the term, in order to modify this ampere circuit law, he introduced this displacement current. Later we will see what was the modified form and all. Okay. So generally in the case of normal kind of the current, we already know this, right? Rate of change of magnetic flux, dB by dt, is directly proportional to IC, current in that particular. That's it, right? We have already seen this. And of course that conduction current can be given as dQ by dt, rate of change of the flow of the charge. That's it, right? Wherever the kind of. So now here the displacement current depends on the electrical flux changing in between. The reason is, if you notice the capacitor, it will be a charged one. So there is an electric field between the plates of the capacitor. So this time varying electric field, because as the capacitor is keep on charging over the time, this electric field magnitude also will keep on changes, right? It won't remains constant. The time rate of change of electric field is directly proportional to the displacement current here. Okay, now the rate of change of electrical flux produces this displacement current ID. So this is what the rate of change of electrical flux produces displacement current, and simply in order to define the displacement current, it is the current which comes into existence in addition to the conduction current whenever electric field and hence the electric flux changes with time. So whenever there is a electric field and the electric flux changes with time, the displacement current comes into existence with addition to the conduction current or the already existing the current, whatever we are calling it as. Now let's see the form in which it is actually and the expressions and all. Okay, so Maxwell made these laws of electricity and magnetism symmetrical with the help of displacement current. Of course, you can call it to be like a property too. It's not that difficult thing. So the thing is, when displacement current was taken, Maxwell made laws of electricity and magnetism symmetrical. Regarding this making the electricity magnetism symmetrical, this particular part we will discuss at the end and under the topic called Maxwell's equations. There we will understand what is the need of, what is the symmetry and all. Okay, and I think you might be very familiar with the theory called Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. If you are not familiar, it's you can simply call it as, it's almost like the Newtonian theory in mechanics, whatever Newton's theory in mechanics, how we will prefer. In electromagnetics, Maxwell's electromagnetic theory is just like that, the analogous kind of, just like a comparison. Okay, so unlike conduction current, now let's look at the displacement current once again. The unlike conduction current, displacement current exists where there is rate of change of electric flux, where there is a rate of change of electric flux, while conduction current will be IC equal to dq by dt. Remember that rate of change of charge, flow of charge is nothing but conduction current, while here it is rate of change of electric flux, d phi e by dt. And now at points where there is accumulation of charge and hence a discontinuity in conduction current, displacement current helps us to make the total current continuous across the discontinuity. So wherever we have the discontinuity in the conduction current, that's it, right? Between the plates of the capacitor we have a discontinuity. Until there is a medium for this, but over this particular part there is a small region where there is no actual material medium. In that region we are speaking about the current, how it is possible actually. So first, but coming to the context, whenever AC is supplied across a capacitor, it is allowing that particular current AC rate. So in order to remove that difficulty, displacement current has been introduced by Maxwell. So that's it, right? Here until there is a discontinuity when we use conduction current, but when the displacement current was introduced, that discontinuity has been eliminated, or you can call it as nullified. That's it, right? Right. Displacement current is found between the plates of the condenser during charging and discharging and when AC is applied. So in DC or AC, whatever the case, in that particular charging and discharging and as well as when AC is applied, displacement current can be found. We are calling it as displacement current because it produces a magnetic field. Are you getting the point here? Displacement we are calling, actually there is no physical existence of that, but still we are calling it as current since because there is a magnetic field in that, and when a magnetic field can be produced because of the current. That's it, right? Without this it is not at all a possible case. So that's why we are calling this displacement to be a displacement current to be like we are actually using the term current. Are you getting the point? So you can make all these points to be like important properties of displacement current. You can call it as all these are nothing but properties of displacement current, ID. You can make it as not much difficult. So it can be asked for 1 mark like that. So some kind of the definitions and all. You can make a note of that. Are we clear with this? Okay. Now let's look about the expressions and the further development in the topic. Okay. Let's look at the expression for the displacement current. So as we are very familiar with that, ID is nothing but rate of change of electric flux. So what is the formula for electric flux? E bar dot A bar. That's it, right? So now if theta is the angle between E bar and A bar, can I go for EA cos theta there here? Right. So now displacement current is directly proportional to time rate of change of electric flux. You can notice here d phi E by dt. Thus can I write it as in the place of phi E bar dot A bar? of course EA. So ID proportional to d by dt of EA. As area of the plates or but that region whatever we are taken is a constant, I am taking out EA. So ID proportional to A into dA by dt. From there ID equal to A epsilon naught dE by dt. Here you can give the explanation for epsilon naught to be as it is just to maintain the dimensional consistency. This epsilon naught has been added here just to maintain the dimensional consistency, or simply you can call it as there will be that medium kind of that, so it was been added. So just to have the dimensional consistency we are actually adding this. Verify with the dimensional formulas of with all this electric field, time, area, epsilon naught, all these values you have. So if you do that you will get this result, which is nothing but, so make it dimensional consistency, we are actually using this epsilon naught. Now look this expression carefully, we got the expression for displacement current A epsilon naught dE by dt. So now can I make this note that ID proportional to dE by dt, which we have mentioned earlier we have mentioned, right, ID proportional to dE by dt. So that's what now I'm going to consider here. Are you getting the point here? Okay ma, right. Now as I told you earlier, displacement current will be taken as it is nothing but comes into existence in addition to the conduction current whenever the electric field and hence electric flux changes with time. So can I write down like the ampere circuit law like this, which is integral over b bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught of IC plus ID. Can I write down like this? With addition to the conduction current, displacement current is actually. So mu naught of IC plus what is ID? A epsilon naught dE by dt. Of course if I take it A inside, it is nothing but epsilon naught into d phi E by dt. Can I write down like this? So this is what the final expression for ampere circuit law, which is modified. This law is also called as Maxwell's Ampere's law. This is also called as Maxwell's Ampere's law, A-M-P-E-R-E-S, Ampere's law, or you can call it as modified ampere circuit law. It's nothing new. Okay, so remember this equation, and remember regarding this ID, later in the development of the topic when you are actually calculating the magnetic field, you will understand in detail why we are actually taking the summation, what is the importance of all this. As anyway current is of will be always additive in that case, right, regarding the directions, continuity and all. That's it, bro. The basic idea behind introducing the displacement current is in order to reduce the inadequacy or that particular discontinuity has to be eliminated. So ID has been added there. So whenever it is needed it will be taken, and whenever it is not needed will be, and where are those areas, what are those regions and all, later in the development you will understand. Okay, so coming to this, if we apply variable potential difference, what do you mean by variable potential difference? Alternating. So alternating has been applied to the plates of the capacitor. Displacement current can be given as ID equal to C into dV by dt. Have you seen this? It's nothing new. From this alone we have we mentioned this. As anyway electric field is E equal to V by d, right? As E equal to V by d. Substitute that here. Separation between the plates of the capacitor will always remains constant. So I can take it out. So it will be 1 by d into dV by dt. So A epsilon naught by d. What do you mean by A epsilon naught by d? It's nothing but capacitance of that capacitor what we have taken. So now can I write it as ID equal to C into dV by dt now? Are we clear with this? Right. So now with whatever the frequency of AC we apply across a conductor or that particular condenser, the same frequency the variable magnetic field also will exist. We are saying, right, there will be a magnetic field between the plates of the capacitor. In this region there will be a magnetic field we are speaking about. That magnetic field frequency variation will be similar to the AC what we have applied. With whatever the frequency we are actually applying, the same frequency, with the same frequency this magnetic field also will oscillate. So note down here, the IC is nothing but conduction current, ID is nothing but displacement current. Whenever we have the equations you make a note of this. Okay, right. Now let's calculate the magnetic fields. Measurement of magnetic field, which is our next topic. So I have taken a capacitor here, which you can notice there. So there are two it's a parallel plate capacitor, and here are the two plates in the blue you can notice. Now try to notice the plates are having a wires here. Have you seen that? Of course, the conducting leads, which is nothing but the wires which are actually charging and discharging on off. I am going to consider 2 points, point Q and point P. For this wire outside the capacitor, right, between the plates of the capacitor alone where there is a accumulation of the charge, displacement current will be. Outside that there won't be displacement current. Hence, outside the plates, there will be a current which is nothing but conduction current, whatever the current which is the battery is supplying. That's it, right? And now imagine, see here, this is the current carrying wire. This is the current carrying wire, and hence, can I expect a magnetic field around this current carrying wire? I can expect, right? Now, try to apply the right hand thumb rule here, following the direction of the current as this is the direction. Apply the right hand thumb rule. Now see, this is the direction of the magnetic field, right? Will be out of the plane of the paper. Out of the plane of the paper. That's it, right? Will be coming out of. Like this. Will be coming out of. That's it now. Right. Now, at this point Q, somewhere just above at a distance, some distance from the wire, let's say suppose, I have taken the point Q. At that point, we have a magnetic field. And now, near a current carrying conductor, by using which law we can find out the magnetic field easily? We have Ampere circuit law. So now, apply the Ampere circuit law there and integral, or now I am going to apply modified because we have already modified that, right? So that's what. Integral or B bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught of IC plus ID. But outside the capacitor plates, do we have any displacement current? Obviously no. Displacement current will comes into action whenever there is a accumulation of charge and as well as time varying electric field. But here we don't have neither of the condition. So the displacement current outside the capacitor plates will be 0. So at point Q, ID equal to 0. What happens to the magnetic field then? Integral over B bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught IC, which is nothing but the conduction current. Now I am going to consider point P here, which is, hope you are understanding the planes of all this. They are all these planes are parallel to each other. Like you can call some discs are placed one by one. Okay. Now at this particular point P, which is nothing but between the plates of the capacitor, variable electric field exists. What is the reason for variable electric field condition? Because we are actually charging that it has been connected to the battery, right? So electric field will vary in this region. So now you can imagine like a number of electrical field lines can be drawn between the plates of the capacitor, which means like this. If you imagine the capacitor plates, side view I am drawing of. So you can imagine like there will be a number of electric field lines. Now each line represents the direction of the electric field, right? That's it, right? Which is nothing but variable electric field. Now each line of force, whatever we have drawn here, also I have mentioned, each line of force can be imagined like a conductor carrying current. That's it, right? They are originating at positive and ending at negative. They are originating at positive and ending at negative. Hence, can I make the note that each line of force can be imagined like a conductor carrying current? Thus, this each conductor, whatever we have taken, this each conductor, of course, the line of force will create a magnetic field. That's it, right? So that too at this point. So this line will create a magnetic field here, this line create a magnetic field here, this line create a magnetic field, like each and every. At point P, the magnetic field is cumulative effect of bundle of currents. I am using the word bundle of currents. Do you understand? A bundle of, a set of, contained by circle passing through point P. So here I have drawn. So whatever that circle which is passing through the point P, all these current carrying conductors will produce a magnetic field at that point P. But note down that it produces magnetic field around it but not on it, which you have already seen. These current carrying conductors will produce a magnetic field around or nearby that point, but can never create magnetic field on the wire. Along the axis it will be 0, right? So that was my intention. So all these will create a magnetic field at certain random distances. Since because if you imagine for this wire, it will be like this. For this wire, it is at this distance. For this wire, it is at that distance. So distance is varying, right, for all these wires. So now that's what the question is. Now let's find out the magnitude of the magnetic field at that point. Right. So at point P, can I write down that integral over B bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught ID? Since because between the plates of the capacitor, there won't be conduction current. IC is 0 here. IC is 0 here. ID only exists between the plates of the capacitor. So hence the equation will now become as integral over B bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught ID. Now the format has not changed. Did you notice that? Thus, as electric field is variable, magnetic field produced is also variable here. So for the better understanding, I want to mention like in the format of, so if you consider a capacitor, having a charge, of course here it will be the charge, and the electric lines of force will be from positive to negative like this, from positive to inside the negative. Outside the capacitor plates, IC not equal to 0. IC can never become 0, while ID becomes equal to 0 outside the plates, whether here or here, both are same. All these results will be applicable here also. But in between the plates, in this region I am speaking about, in this region IC becomes 0 while ID never becomes 0. So wherever the conduction current exists, ID doesn't exist. Wherever the ID exists, conduction current do not exist. So keep that in mind, one of the most important result. So where the displacement current will be 0, where the conduction current will be 0 and all. And the need also we have already discussed earlier. Are we clear with this? Right. Now let's go to the next topic, measurement of magnetic field between the plates of that particular capacitor at different points with respect to the axis of the plates. So the intention is, imagine if you have taken, like I'm going to draw once again just for this. The point is, imagine you have the capacitor plates. I am speaking about in this region. So you try to be like in front of you the capacitor plate. So you are in between the plates. So this is the axis, right? Center point. This is the axis. So from here until the capacitor plates, we are going to speak about. So this is the axis. From this axis, we are going to move away. So now the point is, we are going to discuss about magnetic field at all different points of this region. So in this region, we are going to speak about from the center to outside the plate. Okay, right. So now if you notice here, look here, this is one of the capacitor plate I have taken, and the plate radius is capital R. I am considering or choosing one small part or circular part whose radius is R. Right. Now let us calculate the magnetic field at different points with respect to the axis of the plates. So magnetic field at different distances can be calculated using displacement current. That's obviously, since because in between the plates of the capacitor plates we will having only the displacement current. You can notice here the cross section of that particular electric field between the plates of the capacitor of radius R. That's obvious, right? Between the plates of the capacitor we are having an electric field. I am speaking about this region. These are the plates of the capacitor. I am speaking about this region. So in that region we are having electrical fields. That's it, right? So now imagine the electrical field lines are into the plate A, suppose into, which means into the plate of the tape. So like into the plane of the paper. Now magnetic field at a distance R can be given as, and that too here between the plates of the capacitor plate, right? So we are speaking about, so conduction current will be 0 between the plates of the capacitor, while ID will always remain same. So now using that current density in that region we are going to discuss about. Okay, you can ask me, sir, why you are using the new word called displacement current density? I told you already in the previous we have seen here, right, the number of field lines which are crossing there. So if I change this area, which means I have taken P at this point, if I consider this point here, somewhere here, imagine like in the second line, here you can see the cursor. In the second line if I consider, will the radius of the area also will be the same? Obviously no. Will the number of field lines cutting in the previous case and now also will be the same? Obviously no. So now you got the point, right? So the number of field lines cutting that particular region will vary, which you can notice here. So there are many number of lines which are actually cutting there. Look at this, only 2 to 3, of course for the representative purpose I have mentioned. The number of field lines which are actually cutting there will also vary. That's it, right? And that's what the reason why I am using the word displacement current density. So keeping that in mind, integral over b bar dot dl bar equal to mu naught id. That's a formula. Now of course in the place of id I am going to write it as id by pi r square. Displacement current for this entire plate area into area of this gives me the induced current in this region only, right? So that's what id by pi r square into pi small r square. We are very familiar with this, right? So that's why I am using this notation, induced current density into 2 pi r. Integral dl is nothing but length of the element, and this entire element is nothing but line integral only, right? We are doing about. So line integral refers to circumference. So that's what 2 pi r. So b into 2 pi r equal to mu naught into id by pi r square into pi small r square. So upon simplification I can get B equal to mu naught by 2 pi into ID into small r by capital R square. Are you getting the point here? Just simplified this. Now look at this. You can notice clearly that magnetic field is directly proportional to R. As you move away from the center to the outermost point, you can notice the variation in the magnetic field. That's it, right? Now along the axis, that means at this point if you notice, R is 0 at this point. What happens to the magnetic field? It will be 0. Now at a distance which is equal to capital R, at this particular point, capital R distance, which is the outermost of the periphery, then that value is maximum. Since proportional rate, B proportional to R, so that's what is the maximum value? B equal to mu naught by 2 pi into ID by capital R, which is the maximum value. And of course, if Q is the charge on the plate of the capacitor, displacement current can be given as ID equal to dQ by dt, if that particular charge is also known. Are we clear with this? Okay, right. Now let's look about the one more important topic, Maxwell's equation. Right, this need more attention. Maxwell's equation is nothing but you can call like fundamentals in electromagnetics. Whenever we are discussing about electromagnetic theory or electromagnetics, electrodynamics, where electric field and magnetic field both are related and the effects we are discussing, Maxwell's equations are like fundamentals. They are like fundamentals. Remember, Maxwell equations, I told you already in the introduction part also, using the displacement current concept, he made all the laws symmetrical, I told, and that's what now we are going to discuss about this. Okay, so remember, Maxwell's equations are nothing new other than Ampere Maxwell law, which is nothing but modified Ampere law. All the remaining laws are already existing for us, and he made all these laws at a point. He considered all these laws together, and thus the variation of that particular charge or the behavior of the charge, that can be identified very easily using Maxwell's equation. Are you clear with this? So what are those Maxwell's equations? Are nothing but Gauss law in electrostatics, Gauss law in magnetics, Gauss law of course Faraday's law in electromagnetic induction, Ampere's Maxwell's law, which is nothing but, this is nothing but our modified Ampere circuital law. This is our modified Ampere circuital law, which is this Ampere Maxwell law, and Lorentz force, a very familiar. Whenever there is a moving, there is a charge in combined electric and magnetic field, we have already seen that, right? The force experienced by. Are we clear with this? So these are the four fundamental equations which we call it as Maxwell's equation. Remember, assuming there is no magnetic and dielectric material present, the four equations can be stated. We have not taken any account into that magnetic material or any dielectric material. So the basic principle of electromagnetism can be formulated in all these four equations along with Lorentz force. All these five are nothing but Maxwell's equations. Okay, what is the, let's look about the each and every law clearly. First of all, let's start from Gauss law. Gauss law in electrostatics, what it states, it establishes a relation between the net charge enclosed in a closed volume to the total electric flux associated with its surface area. That's it, right? I'm just simply saying the total format of the total charge enclosed by that particular is nothing but 1 by epsilon naught times electric flux associated with that. So it shows that isolated charges do not exist and electric lines of force start from positive charge to and terminates at negative charge. And regarding that is what electrostatics Gauss law states that. That's it, no? Total charge and net charge enclosed in that particular volume to the total charge, that relation we can get. Now in the case of magnetics, this law, Gauss law in magnetics states that integral over V bar dot dA bar equal to 0, which clearly states the right hand side. Look at the right hand side of the equation 0, which indicates that number of flux lines or the field lines entering into a region are equal to number of field lines leaving the region. Thus flux entering is equal to leaving. Hence we can clearly say that magnetic monopoles do not exist. That's it, right? Magnetic monopoles do not exist. They will always exist in pairs. And as it is showing 0, which means flux entering and leaving are equal. So it shows that they are closed loops. That's obvious. Okay. Coming to the Faraday's law, which is nothing but our third law, integral over E bar dot dl bar equal to minus d phi by dt. Remember, it's nothing new. You can ask me that, sir, we know the Faraday law is nothing but epsilon EMF equal to minus d phi b by dt. And how come this? So understand the concept very clearly. How you can write down V as E equal to V by D as E is equals to V by D, can I write down that to be as like this in the format? V is nothing but ED. What do you mean by this integral DL? Length only, right? Length and by D will cancel out. You will be left over with the potential. That's it. No, so it's nothing new. Integral over E bar dot DL bar equal to minus d phi b by dt. We have already discussed many problems on this kind of also. Okay, Faraday's law and EMI. That Faraday's law states us that a time varying magnetic field induces an electrical field. Okay, and just now we have already seen this Ampere's Maxwell law, Ampere's modified Ampere circuit law, where the conduction current, displacement current, all that we have already discussed. And now coming to the last one, Lorentz force, the force acting on a charge q moving in a region where electric field and magnetic fields will be similar to the electromagnetic wave, and that's what we are actually speaking about. So whenever we have a time varying magnetic field, electric field and as well as magnetic field, this oscillations of this electric field and magnetic field with respect to the time gives us electromagnetic waves. Okay, so whenever we have a time varying electric field and time varying magnetic field, we can have the electromagnetic waves. In our next session, we will go for the mathematical approach and as well as the production and as well as the further continuation of this particular topic. Okay.